This video is for the final key thinker in Paper 3 Ideologies, Liberalism. And the key thinker is Betty Friedan, who lived from 1921 to 2006. She was the USA's leading liberal feminist thinker of the 20th century. And the key text that we focus on is The Feminine Mystique, written in 1963. Before we move on to her views on the four key aspects of liberalism, I wanted to talk a little bit about her and her background. So she co-founded two important organisations in the United States in the 1960s and 70s. First of all, she co-founded and later became the first president of NOW, the National Organisation for Women, and she also founded NARAL, which is to this day in America the nation's leading pro-choice pressure group. In 1970, she coordinated the Women's Strike for Equality, and that was chosen on the 50th anniversary of the extension of the franchise to women in the United States. And also in the 1970s, she was a proponent of the Equal Rights Amendment, which did pass both houses of Congress, but failed to become a constitutional amendment because the requisite 3/4 of state legislatures did not ratify that amendment. So as we can see, Betty Friedan is a powerhouse of modern liberal feminism and is an individual who has inspired movements which still exist to this day. And as you're going to see on the next slide, her liberalism is wrapped around feminist theory. So in much the way that Wollstonecraft added a feminist perspective to classical liberalism, we're going to see Friedan do the same in modern liberalism. So first, let's talk about the state. And remember that Rawls and modern liberals believe in an enabling state because modern liberals are focused on positive liberty, enabling somebody's potential. And for Friedan, active intervention by the state could tackle gender inequality and ensure equality of opportunity between the sexes. And legal equality was necessary, and that was ideally going to be provided by the state. Legislation could provide that legal equality, and the Equal Rights Amendment is the perfect example of Friedan's views. Foundational equality in the form of the Constitution is something that Friedan buys into, but it updates and changes over time, which is why she was a proponent of adding the Equal Rights Amendment to the United States Constitution. And now let's look at society. And for Friedan, it was society that limited a woman's role and a woman's ambition. For many American women, they at the time and women still today can feel pressured to choose a home life or a career. And Friedan in the 1960s and 70s is rejecting the notion that it is a zero-sum game, that you must choose one or the other. For Friedan, society told women that they must be either career-driven or a wife and or a mother. The idea that a career and a home life was not possible in tandem was a result of society's expectations. And for Friedan, that is an illiberal attitude. And illiberal attitudes came through cultural channels. That we were conditioned as human beings to view women as subservient and subordinate and playing a limited role. And those cultural channels come through school, religion, the media, literature. So if you think about in high schooling, how women were sort of encouraged to take certain school subjects, how male figures dominated subjects such as history, such as science, and the achievements of women weren't celebrated. So through the education system, women and men are being told from an early age the limited role that women must play. It also comes down to organised religions, and again, the limited role that women at the time could play in organised faiths. But then the media I often, with my class, show the opening scene of The Flintstones, a popular cartoon of the 1960s and 70s, which shows Fred Flintstone, the breadwinner. He goes to work, he returns home, and Wilma is at home waiting for him with the children. And when, in the opening credits, they get into the car, it is the man that drives the car. They go to pick up their friends, the Rubbles, and yet again Mrs. Rubble holds the baby. So even in those subtle messages, when you watch something as simple as a cartoon, it is reinforcing an illiberal attitude about the role, a limited role that a woman can play in society. And so, for a truly liberal society, we must fight those cultural channels. We must ensure that conditioning does not happen, so that both men and women are not encouraged to believe in the traditional gender roles that dominated American society. And moving on to human nature, it is society and not human nature that condemns women to this different and, in many ways, inferior role to men. Friedan rejected the idea that there is something inherently different about women that means that they must play a different role in society to men. So Friedan rejects the argument that there is something different in the nature of woman compared to the nature of man. Friedan, in sort of similarity to many liberals before her, is fully committed to individualism. And in many ways, she is echoing the thoughts of Mary Wollstonecraft centuries before, when she argues that women should seek self-control and seek to realise their full potential. And that is a message that Mary Wollstonecraft is advocating for as far back as the 18th century. And then finally, the economy. If you get a question in an exam on the economy and a commitment to the free market, I don't think Friedan is going to be one of your chosen liberals to write about in a 9-marker in particular. Friedan sees the economy as a way for women to gain a greater and equitable social status, because economic equity is going to empower women. It's going to increase and improve their stake in society. And when women are able to enjoy that economic power that they haven't always enjoyed, when they are able to pursue their own wealth and enjoy the fruits of their own labour, that is going to ensure that men and women are going to take women more seriously. And if women can have a greater stake in the economy, then that will only serve to further female empowerment.